Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
Welcome to our YouTube channel. Subscribe and like this video.
Also, check out the podcast below in the description. Haberman, that's him. Middlecoff, that's me. Subscribe to that as well.
Day 3 was a wild day of the NFL draft. It's the day that the 49ers got an all-pro left tackle in Trent Williams and one of the great 49ers of the recent era retired, John. Trent Williams in, Joe Staley out. Pretty crazy day.
Full disclosure, guy, didn't see this coming. Didn't see this coming. I was on my couch. I had just turned on the draft, and I saw a tweet, and I had to kind of shake my head. I just had a sip of coffee, and I had to reread it, and it was pretty nuts. I think it was probably the most shocking thing of the last. You could argue last couple of days. I don't think many people in the league saw this coming. I kind of felt like he just wasn't going to come back.
Breer says that they've been working on this deal for a while. There's also the fun dynamic between the Shanahans and the Snyders. Not very tight, John. Not very tight. They play this year. And Rap Sheet said one big thing was the Vikings, who Rap Sheet had reported Trent Williams killed the deal with the Vikings. Trent's agent said that's not true. But the Vikings were going to give him an extension because he is not extended. Schefter says he's playing on the last year of his contract this year. But when it happened, we didn't know about the Staley departure, although it's something that around the Bay Area we've talked about quite a bit. And then Staley, 13 seasons, 6 Pro Bowls, 6 head coaches, retired.
One thing, Guy, I did a little digging once it kind of took place. The 49ers have known since, I don't know the exact date, but before the draft started, that Joe Staley was not going to come back. So to me, when they went into Thursday night and they had the opportunity at 13, hell, you could argue trade up a couple spots, try to get a tackle, take the tackle that Tampa Bay ended up taking it, that they forced to move up at 13 in Wirfs. Pretty ballsy move because there was no guarantee that they would get Trent Williams. Now, maybe if they felt, I don't know. I mean, once Thursday night ended, they didn't have any picks. So what? There was no way to maneuver on second and third round to land one of kind of the second tier tackles. I don't really know what they would have done beside kind of start some of the guys they have on their roster at left tackle, which I think we'd both agree for a Super Bowl team would have been a pretty big red flag going into the season with Justin School or Brunskill or moving McGlinchey or doing who knows what, right?
Yeah, would have been a big deal. So, I mean, this is kind of Joe Staley's last gift to the 49ers was working with them to keep his retirement quiet and help keep them help them keep a little bit of leverage. Although it did seem like Trent Williams was able to control this thing to some degree. I mean, they gave up a 5th-round pick in the 2020 draft and a 3rd-round pick in the 2021 draft. Pretty good trade for the Niners, I'd say.
Yeah. Do you know what it had? It had an NBA feel to it. It had a less, this guy's not as crazy, not even close, as Antonio Brown. Like, he was kind of in control of the situation. Similar compensation, a 5th and a 3rd-round pick. But if the guy says, hey, I'm not going to play for you, I think you look at Gronk a couple years ago, like, hey, I'll just stay retired. I'm not going to play for them. So what do you do? I'm not giving a 2nd-round pick for a guy that's not going to show up.
And he'd paid the price. I mean, he missed a season of football to kind of get himself this leverage. You texted around the league. People think he's great, John. Now, the heart of his issue with Washington is the way they handled his knee issue over the years. But people still think he's a great player.
Yeah, I mean, he's digging around the league. People use the word elite. And I think when we dive into what he looks like, he still looks fucking good.
Let's dig around the league, John, with a couple of his now former teammates. Why don't we quote them? I'll be Vernon Davis.
The best offensive lineman I've ever seen. The best offensive lineman
When Guy created an offensive lineman,
the best
he
offensive
created
lineman
Trent Williams.
I've
When Guy
ever
created an
seen.
offensive
The
lineman,
best offensive
he
lineman
created Trent
I've
Williams.
ever
When Guy
seen.
created an
The best
offensive
offensive
lineman,
lineman
he
I've
created Trent
ever
Williams.
seen.
When Guy
The best
High praise, John. High praise from those two guys.
I like that you gave me Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, I knew you'd appreciate that. So they said we never do it, Middlecoff, but we are going into the film room for an offensive lineman. We only do it for great offensive linemen. And we're going to have Vernon Davis join us because these clips are fantastic. And let's go through. Former NFL scout John Middlecoff. This is a lot of Trent Williams, folks. He wears number 71. He's the left tackle. These are all from 2018. These are Saints highlights and Cardinals highlights. Those were two of the best pass rushing teams in the league that year.
I think when you look at offensive tackles, you look for several things, especially in the scheme that Shanahan once started in Washington, that he now runs in San Francisco: size, athleticism, feet,
strength.
The ability to redirect and move. I don't think these guys get enough credit for moving like this at this size, right? I mean, this is a 6'5", 6'6", 320-pound dancing bear. The term dancing bear starts with grizzly bears and works its way to tackles because humans, I mean,
I love this
it's
clip.
not normal.
The Buchanan getting the arm, Dion.
He's a freak, man. He's an absolute freak, and he's an ideal scheme fit. And Joe was too, but Joe at 36 wasn't quite the same at 31, 32 years old that he was, like when Harbaugh got a hold of him. And listen, this is no disrespect to Joe Staley. He was never Trent Williams. Like, Trent was just on a different tier. He's been one of the best left tackles. Yeah, and he's a 7-time whatever Pro Bowler. The other thing that, like, the comparison I hear is he's got similarities to peak Jason Peters, who, like him, freak athlete, could play in any scheme, power, zone. The movement guy.
This is Chandler John. This is Chandler Jones. Sorry to interrupt you, but
which is a player that the Niners have struggled with, right?
Yeah, good point.
Every time the Niners play him, he kicks their ass.
This is the Saints game. This is Marcus Davenport to Cam Hayward. The other thing, watching a lot of 2018 tape, John, who can still play in the league? I hope physically is Alex Smith because he can feel his way around a pocket. Look at this.
People forget they were 6-2 before his leg snapped in half.
How about the handoff? Look at, I got one. There you go. Two. And the one thing when you watch him, John, when he makes contact, maybe he hits back a step or two, but he's basically a stone wall. I love this one with the right. Watch the right arm here. 34.5-inch arms. This is Davenport again.
You know what they say, guy?
What?
If you got long arms, I can hit you and you can't hit me. That's a huge advantage.
They call it the reach.
That's why short midget arms are not looked upon favorably in NFL draft rooms.
Yeah. Rubio Durazo. You remember him? A baseball player? Very short arms.
Short arms?
You can get to the inside. It helps you with the inside pitch, but it doesn't help you protect your quarterback or run block.
No, it doesn't. If you think about this, this NFL draft that just happened that had, 5 tackles go in the top 18, they all are praying to Jesus that their tackle is 70% of this. They would just that this is what you look for in a high first round pick, and he's just got better with age. His athleticism hasn't diminished. The feet guy, how light he is on his feet. He's moving around more like a shooting guard than a left tackle. This isn't normal. That is just not. I mean, this is offensive line porn.
And it's Chandler Jones.
That's what it is. Guys, Chandler Jones is a dominant player.
Oh, this might be my favorite. We haven't even got to the stuff where he moves the most, but this might be my favorite clip.
But again, I think you pointed out something good. Alex Smith was having a great 2018 season before he got injured. Was he a top 10 quarterback? Had he become just a solid He's a good player. Did they upgrade? Was Alex, before his leg fell off, better than Kirk Cousins? I'd say so. I'd rather have Alex.
This play, he actually completes a pass on him after he rolls out. This is more your 34.5-inch arms and strength and just beastiness.
When you're a 10-year-old and you're coming back from school and you get to the stoplight and they have that person with a vest on and they put up the stop sign? That's basically what he's doing. Just stop sign. You ain't moving. Jesus, look at this guy move.
You have
that in fast forward, or is that just his actual movement?
Nice cut, AP.
He's still got a little something left, guy.
Wow.
Don't sleep on Adrian.
Man. This is more movement. This is against the Cardinals. Oop. He's on the outside here. This is Buchanan again.
Well, what's the famous Joe Staley clip against the Saints when he hawks down the defensive back?
Yeah.
It's easy to say, can you imagine what the defensive back thinks? Well, most of the time when they see a lineman, it's not a great athlete. They can maneuver around him. But when you get a guy like this, Staley, Peters, the freak athletes in space, those guys know they're fucked. All you can kind of do is hit the ground. I mean, there's just nothing. You got no shot.
I love this. This play doesn't work, but look how far he goes.
Well, that's the other thing. Can you imagine next year with George Kittle, when they just need 5 yards? You go outside zone to the left, and you put George Kittle next to Trent Williams and Juszczyk behind Jimmy Garoppolo, and you just go, it's on like Donkey Kong. and we're tossing bodies. We're tossing bodies.
I don't think, I mean, you tell me, but I can imagine part of acquiring players, right, is the unknown. Now, you want to check his knee out, but Kyle Shanahan wasn't just there with him. Kyle Shanahan, they drafted him, right? Kyle Shanahan's first year as the OC in Washington was the year that they drafted Trent Williams. He was 3 years with him, and they took him fourth overall. So I got to imagine one thing we've seen from the Niners with Kyle Shanahan is he's not out there just trying to draft running backs and really fast wide receivers. So I would imagine he had some significant amount of say, and obviously Mike knows what he's looking for in offensive lineman too, but in taking this guy.
Well, here's one guy. Of all the tackles, the high-end tackles that were acquired the last 48 hours, all the guys in the first round, and let's just say a couple of the guys that went in the second round, what are the chances that any of them, again, health permitting, are better than this guy for the next 3 years?
Right. Low.
Now, it's not a long-term plan, but for the immediate future.
Trent turns 32 in July, but the odds are low. The odds are that he's the best of that group, right?
Now, he is going to be a free agent.
Okay.
You would say decent chance that if it goes well, they would either franchise or extend. Yeah. Do you have a problem? I actually think the Laramie Tunsil deal, because it wasn't like he got Khalil Mack money, right? A 5-6 year deal. Yeah. Wouldn't you do that if you were the Niners? Would you give that to him right now? Would you think about doing that?
Well, I'd prefer to do it after this year when I pay him 12, but
I'm talking about give the extension right now.
Oh, give the extension.
Yeah, you pay the 12 and you give the bonus or whatever, just so you have him under contract. Or is it's a little risky? I'm not saying he hasn't played in a year. Yeah, he's an older player. Maybe you probably play it. The prudent move would be to play it out.
Yeah, or it might even be as simple as he gets that contract halfway through the season, right?
If it's going well.
It's going well. This is not a devastating block, but just this is some of the athleticism you're talking about where he turns back. Again, Deion Buchanan, unfortunately for him, shows up in a lot of this tape.
Well, think about that, guy. Do you know how fast Deion Buchanan moves relative to offensive linemen? Like they operate at different speeds. Again, I keep saying, are you in fast forward? This is not a normal pace. This guy reminds me a lot of when I was in Philly and Jason Peters was in the peak of his powers. Offensive linemen don't have feet and movement and power like this. You usually you're either a great athlete, you're usually like Laramie Tunsil is a really good athlete. He's not a dominant player, good player. Above average player, but he's not. I wouldn't put elite. I wouldn't use that term because to me, to be elite, you got to have power, athleticism, movement, the ability once you create contact to stay on them, to get on every level, to block every, the top end pass rushers, to getting on defensive backs, the ability to play in every scheme. Like this guy, based on this film, you'd say he's one of the best offensive tackles, He's better, he's better than Laramie Tunsil.
John,
so you just acquired a guy who's better than the guy who just became the top paid.
You just had a franchise left tackle retire and you upgraded.
Yeah.
I think Kyle Shanahan's going to throw him a pass this year, and they play Washington.
Why do you think that?
Well, because just look at this guy. I think it's just going to be fun for him because there's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind Trent Williams. I don't know why I can't talk. There's no doubt in my mind Trent Williams can catch, right? He has soft hands. Usually these are all skill sets that he has hand-eye coordination. I'm confident. I bet his jumper is pretty sweet. I bet he's got
What would you say percentage chance he could do like a 360 dunk?
Yeah, I mean.
High.
He ran a 4.88 40 coming out of Oklahoma. John, and here's the other thing you love about him. Big nasty guy, right?
Yeah.
Toe-to-toe with Richard Sherman. Oh.
I love how Richard instigates and then does this. I'll give Richard credit, guy. I mean, Richard's big, but if you're going to go up to that level human being and not flinch, you're pretty fucking crazy, right? Is that Jed getting involved in the party? Yeah, thanks, Jed. Well, I think I know the specific. His Jed's punch moment was Thanksgiving at Levi's. Him tweeting, "We need to be better," or "That wasn't good enough," as Richard ate the turkey on the 50. Yeah, so that was his punch moment. Yeah, good move there. I would say that coming out of the draft with Kinlaw, Brandon Ayuk, and Trent Williams is a is a solid effort. I didn't expect that, man. I didn't. Yes.
The best
When God
offensive
created
lineman
an offensive
I've
lineman,
ever seen.
he created
The
Trent
best
Williams.
offensive
When
lineman
God created an
I've
offensive
ever
lineman,
seen.
he
The
created
best
Trent
offensive
Williams.
lineman
When God
I've
created an
ever
offensive
seen.
lineman,
The best
he created
offensive
Trent
lineman
Williams.
I've
When God created an
ever
offensive
seen.